Welcome to Whole CEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in mindset, weight loss, business, and more. Learn our top tips so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, feel unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable. He's a dual board certified interventional radiologist and obesity medicine specialist who spent more than 20 years analyzing the phenomenon of why diets always fail, why we blame the patients for that failure. That journey led him to perform the first human advanced interventional procedure to manage obesity, diabetes, and other metabolic conditions, leading to the identification of the catching point, a clear pivot beyond which calorie restriction and exercise are easier for patients. He's been recognized nationally, internationally for his work, including features on Today's Show, Washington Post, Capitol Hill, and numerous peer-reviewed journals. Welcome to the show, Dr. David Prologo.
Wow, that was quite an introduction. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you here. I think, weight loss is always a hot topic, and that's why I wanted to break that down today. So let's jump right into the content. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. How can we be uninterruptible in weight loss with the no restart principle?
Oh, right into the no restart. So the no restart is really kind of a detail way in the middle of the book there that addresses this idea that we have if we don't perfectly follow this static schedule that we find that we just quit, right? So, and everyone knows this. Everyone's familiar with this process. You start your what's so-called diet, and then on day 4, your kid gets sick or work is stressful. Or you go to a restaurant, and at that point, you're so-called off your diet, right? And you pitch everything to come back another day and start over, because if you don't follow this thing perfectly to the letter, then for some reason we think that it doesn't have value and we throw it out.
Right.
Now, the analogy I always use is if you wanted to be a coin collector, I guess, and have this very nice collection of coins instead of weight loss, you would start collecting these coins, and then something would happen. Your kid would get sick, word would get stressful, and you'd get distracted from your coin collection. But when the stressor passed, you would come back and continue to add to your coin collection. You would not say, oh, I wasn't able to collect coins today, so everything that you collected so far, you just throw it out and start over on another day, right? There's no other thing that we treat like this, but we do treat weight loss like this. And there's lots of errors that we make that lead us to this constant quit, restart. And so that's where this principle comes in. It's as simple as it sounds. We're never off. Once we start, we're never off. If these stressors happen, then we let off the gas and press on the gas as our body tells us, as our life allows us, and we get to the end without this chuck it and restart principle.
Well, that is a phenomenon I have seen many times. I mean, I've experienced many times firsthand. And also, too, I like in the book how you mentioned that if you don't restart, that it can lead to like success in marriage, finances. Other stuff, too. Do you want to elaborate on how we should just not quit?
Well, first, I want to thank you for reading that detailed and going in that far. There's so many other examples where we can see the success of this no restart principle, right? Marriage is probably the most obvious one. This is a lesson that's certainly rooted in Christianity, but I think it works for everybody. And that is that if we decide in our marriage that there's no way out, if we accept in our hearts and in our minds that once we start this thing, there is no way out, then what you'll find out is without consideration of potential exit, then you're sort of forced to figure out how to make this thing work, right? So if you were on an island, for example, and you realize after some amount of time that there is no way out, then you figure out how to exist and survive on that island. And so the same thing happens there. If we look at our marriage and we use and employ there's no restart here. We're not going to get divorced and then try another marriage. We're in this one for life, so let's make the best of it. It's the same idea. And so many other places in life. Just one more, not to keep beating the religion drum, but so many people who have started a religion or try to go to church and try to understand what this all is all about, sort of chuck it after a few times, saying this isn't for me, right? But if
Right.
you didn't have the option to not come back, right,
Right.
and you continue to come back, you'll see that after a while you start to understand these things. Just one last example, the best example
I
of them
want all
all.
the examples. What do you got?
The best example of them all is Alcoholics Anonymous, right?
Right.
Alcoholics Anonymous is this hugely successful organization, and it's been studied extensively. How does this thing work? It's anonymous. There's no leadership. There's no accountability. I mean, how does this thing work? How do people use this to get better? Because we know that they do, right? They have a
Right.
saying in Alcoholics Anonymous to distill all of this to your recovery, and it's keep coming back. Just
Right.
keep coming
Just
back,
keep
right?
coming back. Don't quit.
People
Don't
show
quit
up on
on
the
yourself.
they show up on the first day and they want the secret. Quitting drinking is hard, right?
Right.
And they want to feel like the people who are drinking the coffee and are peaceful in their hearts. They want that. And so when you first come up, they scramble. Tell me the secret. How can I be like you? I don't want to think about alcohol every day anymore. And the answer is keep coming back.
Keep coming
Same
back.
thing. Same thing here for weight loss.
I love it because this is like a recurring theme in so many people's life. It's such an important distinction. And so many of us, I know I've been there, everybody's been there, where you just zero out every Monday and start over because you slipped.
You can't do that. Life is messy, right? Life is messy. We can't expect anything, our marriages, our recovery from alcohol, our weight loss, to be perfect, like a video game where
Right.
if something goes wrong a few scenes in, you just start over and reboot. We can't do that in real
You
life.
never get anywhere. Okay, I'm so glad you addressed that topic right early on in the conversation. I also read something else in your book that sounded really interesting to me about how can we be unstoppable by attention to recovery.
Oh, attention to recovery is the big one, but it's a secret almost, right?
Okay.
And I use the example of the Atkins diet, for example, or even the South Beach diet.
Right.
These were principles that physicians and researchers knew about.
Right.
But what they did was they just took this information and they put it in a book for the public, and it translated out to those hugely successful diets, right?
Right.
This is the same thing. This is something that we know about that the general public never thinks about, and that is that you are trying to make a change in your body. And so, to use the following analogy, if you brought a flower home and you gave it some water, right? And then you gave it more water and more water and more water. If you just did that, the flower is going to drown. What you have to do instead is give a little water and then let it sit, let it absorb some sunshine, let the change happen, right? And then it will bloom and become a beautiful flower. But if you just constantly pour water, it won't work, right? And so that break in between waterings, that's recovery. So in human beings, when we have an exercise bout or we have a time with calorie restriction, we can't just continue on like that, like you would continue pouring the water, or we will drown and we will quit. What you have to do instead is you have to allow some time in between so that your body gets adapted and restructures and changes in the way that you want it to do. And you don't have to be passive about it. You don't have to just wait the time, although that works. You can also be active about it, meaning that you can add things into your life, into your diet that accelerate recovery and accelerate the change that you're after.
Right. I love the importance of recovery. I mean, you can apply that to exercise. You can apply that to work. I know for me also too, when I work and don't take a break, it's not exciting and fun. And you don't have that creative spark, but it's like, if I take the little time to go for a hike, go to the beach, get out of town, it's like you come back with newfound motivation.
And it allows you to do what? It allows you to stay the course for a longer period of time, which is exactly what's missing for all of our folks that fail with their weight loss. There was a very famous study that came out in the Journal of American Medical Association where they compared all these diets, Atkins, Ornish, the Zone diet, and they wanted to see which diet is best, right? Everybody wants the answer to that question.
Right.
And what they found out was it didn't matter what of these diets you were on, it only mattered if you were able to adhere for a long period of time. And so in order to adhere for a long period of time, you've got to introduce recovery in work, as you mentioned, but also here.
I love that. I love the importance of recovery. And I love the fact that all diets don't work unless you stick to them and adhere to them. I have another question for you, Dr. Prologo. How can we be unbreakable, like Bruce Lee's advice to be like water? Because I love that one.
I do love that one. And again, it's something we can apply to so many facets in our life, but specifically we were talking about weight loss. What he meant when he said to be fluid and to be like water was that when you come across an obstacle, when a water in a stream is flowing and it comes about a rock, it doesn't stay there and beat its head against the rock. It goes around the rock. It takes the path of least resistance. So what does that mean when it comes to weight loss? It means don't try to white knuckle your way through this thing when your body is fighting back against you. Don't sit there and bang against that rock. Instead, be fluid. Listen to your body's feedback. Allow yourself to change your diet and adjust according to your life, according to your body's feedback, and be fluid in that way, not static. Have to do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday. That's not sustainable. Being fluid and being able to respond to the environment without quitting, like we said in the beginning, will allow you to stay on for a much longer period of time. No rigid static schedules. Be like water.
I love that, because it's so hard to have a conversation with people too when they're so rigid and they don't have that flexibility. It goes to personality types too, doesn't it?
It does. It extends to everything. And some of the companies out there, not that I have any ties to any of these companies, will capitalize on this principle. It's a known thing. It's not an idea that Dave Prologo had. It's supported in the scientific literature that flexibility equals success, that those folks who can find a way to be fluid and adjust and have a little bit more here and a little bit less here, depending on what our bodies are telling us and what our life is demanding of us, are those who will be able to stay on longer, get to and through the catching point, and change their lives.
Well, I hope you dieters out there are listening. I mean, I know I've tried every diet in the world, like I said, and rigidity is not going to help you stay the course. Be like water, be like Bruce Lee. You're such a wealth of information on weight loss and so well acclaimed in this whole topic. Where can people find more good stuff?
I think most of the links to anything interesting are on drprologo.com. We use these principles for lots of different things to deliver compassionate care for patients who are in pain, for those who are struggling with weight loss, for those who are lost in the healthcare system. All of these things can be improved if we can be empathetic and we can be compassionate and we can be fluid.
Well, thanks, Dr. Prologo. Any final parting wisdom words you want to leave our audience with?
The last thing I might say is that the book itself really is meant to be read. It's not the kind of book where you pick up and flip to the program side and try to follow it. It's a transmission of information. It's a bunch of things that I bet you wish you knew about weight loss.
Well, thanks, Dr. Prologo, for being guest on Whole CEO with Lisa G.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks for coming to Whole CEO with Lisa G. After over 20 years helping people lose weight and get fit, I'm so excited to announce that I found the missing link with my coaching. Message me if you want to learn how to look better, feel better, and go faster with a master. Lisa G at lisagfit.com.